So in these 3 minutes, I'll try to talk about remote sensing and environmental engineering and give you a brief overview of all the projects that my research group is working on. First of all, we are trying to track malaria cases in the Amazon basin using climate modeling and remotely sensed observations. As you all know, malaria is transmitted by mosquitoes. And when do we observe more mosquitoes? Well, when it's hot and humid, which means that maybe there is a correlation between the number of malaria cases and climate. And here are some very preliminary results. Here you see the trend of malaria cases in Peru in the past 15 years. And in the top panel, you see surface pressure, and in the bottom one, temperature, surface temperature. And it looks like there is some relationship. Next, we are looking at global floods. Can we monitor floods globally? Obviously, we need a global input in terms of precipitation, which is why we need satellites to do that. Well, guess what? Satellites are not perfect. They fail, okay? That's why we need to estimate errors that are associated with those satellite precipitation measurements. From global to the local and regional scale, we are also trying to use remote sensing for stormwater modeling. In this particular case, we are trying to use weather radar to measure precipitation and use them in our stormwater models to help decision makers in their everyday decisions, but also long-term planning. And last but not least, we are looking at desert locust swarms in sub-Saharan Africa. You may have seen these guys. They look like grasshoppers most of the time, but under specific conditions, which means solid, moist soil and green vegetation, they change their behaviors completely from solitary to gregarious. And again, we are thinking that there may be a relationship between these outbreaks of locust swarms and precipitation, which is why we are looking at correlations between rainfall, and again, guess what? We still need satellites to measure precipitation in that area, in those areas of the world where ground observations are certainly not available. And we found out that there is a correlation between locust outbreaks and daily precipitation, actually. More than the amount of precipitation that falls at the ground, it's the number of consecutive days that it rains. Because in those regions, evaporation is very strong and immediate. So you need longer light rainfalls in order to trigger outbreaks of locusts. And with this, I conclude. Thank you.